What a fun day. Are you excited? Because today, we're taking you to the moon. We're going to do it. We're going to not only land on the moon, but we're going to get our Kerbals back safe and sound. We're only going to send one this time, brave Jebediah Kerman, and we are going to be safe about it. But I'm going to teach you little steps and tricks that you can do, so on the way, in case you have any mistakes or something happens, you'll be able to correct it and get it taken care of the first time. So let's go ahead and bring this up the game and get ready to go. Here we go. This is actually a space station I was making for another contract. It is part of a modification to the game, which allows me to do specific science up here in space. I just thought it was kind of pretty. I wanted to show you guys what wonderful views you have when you get up into orbit. But we're not caring about orbit this time. We're going to go to the moon. So let's go back to the Space Center and let's design and build a rocket that's going to be able to take us there. Oh, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this episode for a long time. Alright, so we don't have very much science. We can't research any other parts. We've picked up a couple contracts that are really gonna that we'll be able to get on the way there. And when we come back, and what we're gonna do is design the lander that can make it there and back, fulfill all those contracts, get us not only a bunch of science but a bunch of money. So you also notice that I did move my profile picture to the middle of the right, so we can watch our Kerbals in action. So when designing a lander, with the parts that we have now, we don't want to do a satellite. Sometimes you do want to do a probe that doesn't risk a Kerbal's life, but we're going to do one better than that. So let's take our little capsule here, and we're going to make it into a suitable landing craft. We're going to call this the Moon Lander 1. Or should we call it, better idea, Apollo 1, 11, because the moonwalk, the first moon landing was Apollo 11. So Apollo 11, that works. With designing the lander, when we do the re-entry, we don't want to be having any bulky stuff behind us, so we're going to go ahead and add a decoupler there. That will detach the upper command pod from there. We also want to add a control stabilizer. This is inline. What it does is it provides electrical torque to keep the ship steady, and so you have more control of it as you start to approach the moon. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the main body of the lander. Now, like I said before, what you want to do is you want your smaller how do I say this? You want to use the smallest engines you can when you make a lander. Especially for the moon, because it has very little gravity. It doesn't take very much thrust to get off. Plus, the smaller engine, the more efficient. So you'll use your fuel that you end up landing with will be much more efficient there. So this right here, if it got into orbit around the moon, it could land there nice and safely. But we want to make a couple altercations to this just to make sure that not only we get to the moon, but we get back. So we will add we're going to add what are called some radial decouplers, and we want to have landing legs. So, for landing legs to be the most effective, we need to have a wide base of landing. So instead of just adding the landing legs on here, which would give us a very small base, we're going to add a couple of these Science Juniors so we can run experiments on the way down. We'll add a couple of those on there, and then in the utility section we have our landing legs. We put these on, and there we go. Now, one thing you always want to test before you have any lander is you want to right click on these and extend them, and you want to make sure that they come out past the engine, or else your engine is going to smack into the ground. We don't want that to happen. So far, we're going to also bring this down just a little bit to give us a little more extra room. That's looking good so far. Next, we want to add a couple lights to the bottom, just in case we do land in the moon. We want to use these Illuminator Mark 1s, because the Mark 1s have a much brighter beam than the Mark 2s, but the Mark 2s are a little bit wider. And we're going to add them here so they're facing down, So if we do land on the night side of the moon, we'll be able to see everything, see the landing site bright and clear. Let's see. Okay, so that's a pretty sturdy lander right there. That's going to be good enough to land on the moon and get us back, I'm pretty sure. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple more science experiments on. Because as I said, when we go, we want to make sure we're getting all of the science we can. So we'll add a couple of the mystery science goos, and we'll actually just attach them to the science juniors. That's going to help us out a bit. That way when we do our experiments, we can run both of these in each location. Next important thing is we will want an antenna. We have two to choose. This first one doesn't, it's efficient for your power, but it takes a while. This one's a little less efficient, but it transmits things much quicker. We're going to take one of those, and I'm just going to slap it on, make sure we just have one, and slap it right on the back there. That way, when we land, we can transmit our crew reports. You don't want to transmit experiments if you don't have to. You want to make sure you keep those on as long as you can and actually recover them with the ship or take the data out and bring them back. But crew reports you can always transmit for 100%. Next, we are going to want to add some solar panels to our ship. This will help us have a renewable supply of power as we go along. We'll put them both here on this side and here on this side of the Science Junior. And that way we'll be able to get a good collection of electricity as we go. Now, speaking of electricity, we are going to want to add a couple batteries. I'm going to add one small battery up here, and I'm going to add a couple batteries around the edge here. That way I do have a little extra backup source in case I land on the night side and I don't have very much room to do that, to get any things there. Lastly, I'm going to extend the parachute because we do want to make sure we land again. That's always a good thing. And as for science, this is a pretty sturdy lander. It'll be able to get us there on the moon and back. Pretty simple. As you progress through the game, you'll get more science experiments, you'll get ladders and things that you can use. But in the meantime, this is going to be a good one to get us started and to get us back. So we've added science things, we've added utility. So far we look good. We won't really need aerodynamics this time because we are going to be doing most of this stuff in space. But another thing we are going to start adding is building the rest of our rocket. Now, the rocket will want to get in maybe 3 or 4 stages. The first stage we want to make sure we get up into orbit. So it's nice. That could take maybe 1 or 2 stages, but we do want to get to orbit. Next, we want something that can take us from Kerbin's orbit out to orbit around the moon. And it's MUN, the moon, or MUN as my brother likes to call it. Then what we want to do once we get in orbit around the moon, we want to slow down, and then we want to bring our periapsis down just above the surface, so when we get there, we're going to be able to slow down and actually land on it. And then we're going to land and take off, and I'll show you how to get back to Kerbin. So this so far is our great stage. This is what's going to be our last stage. It's going to be what actually lands and then comes back up when it comes to Kerbin. We're also going to make sure the staging is right, that the parachute's last and the decoupler comes off before that, then that engine. These things, we actually don't want to jettison them until we've actually landed on the moon. So we are going to add them to above this engine. So this engine will start firing first. Next, we're going to go ahead and add a decoupler with this one. And we're going to build the rest of the rocket. So this stage I'm going to set up is going to be our stage that is going to transfer us from Kerbin to the moon. I'm going to make it nice and long, and I'm going to have an efficient small engine on there to give me a lot of thrust, and it's going to be what helps push me to Kerbin, to the moon. Okay, let's just take a look here. I think we're good here. So this will also help us slow down as we get to the moon as well. So next we need to build, so that's our transfer stage that will get us to the moon. Lastly, we're going to build our orbital stage. Now, the stage that's going to push us up into orbit. So I did unlock some bigger rocket parts, which we're going to use now because they're going to be very helpful. We will add this adapter, which adapts from the small rocket parts that I'm doing to the large rocket parts here, and we'll add an engine on there as well. And that looks like it's going to give us enough oomph to probably get us between these two stages in orbit. But I want to get as far up as I can before I fire this stage, because I want this stage to be mostly the stage that takes me to the moon. So lastly, I'm going to add some of these radial decouplers, and I'm going to add these big solid rocket boosters to help me get up there. So now with this bottom stage alone, I will hopefully be able to get into Kerbin's orbit and then use the rest of this to push me to get to the moon. Now we do have a problem. I don't know if you saw it, but this eye says that this ship weighs unfortunately a little too much, a little over the weight that we needed it to be. So what can we do? We have two options. One, we can take off parts, but then we probably won't have the fuel to get where we want to be. The second option is we can upgrade our launch pad one more time, so I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and save our ship, and we're going to go to we're going to upgrade our launch pad. Let's see here. Upgrade. Boom. Our upgrade is fully upgraded. We don't have as many funds now, but what we're hoping to is with this moon launcher that we've designed, it costs 45,000 funds, and we're hoping that this is going to be our salvation. We have a lot of contracts that we're going to do. We need to get science data from space around the moon. We need to plant a flag on the moon, gather science from the surface of the moon, as well as explore the moon. We still need to land and transmit data from the surface. If we can do those things, we're going to get a big payout. Lastly, this is just something for design. If you can see here, these are kind of unstable because they're not really attached at the top, so they might wobble. What we can do is we can use these, which are called Strut Connectors. We can use these to build just like a metal linking between that and another part of the ship. So instead of wobbling around, they'll be nice and steady. One other thing also, we are going to click this and bring this down a little bit so it will be detached kind of from the top instead of from the middle where it might come back and hit and destroy the tank. We don't want that to happen. So this is our beautiful Kerbalo ship. It should be able to get us to the moon and back. Let's hope we can pull it off. Now I'm going to talk about some simple things that you can use to with your spaceships. One thing is the quick save option that I didn't know about for a long time. Quick save allows you to save at a point where you are, so if you do crash or something bad happens, you can reload. Now that can be activated by hitting the F5 button, and you look down here, it says quick saving. That helps us to, if you are afraid of doing something scared and you want the option to come back, you can just do that. And then if you ever want to recover, you just need to hit F9, and that will, holding F9 will load your quick save and you'll be good to go. Alright, so we are going to activate our stability control with the T button. We don't have any RCS, so we can activate R, but that won't do anything. And our staging is ready to go. We are going to throttle up, so our ship is good to launch. And we are going to go in 3, 2, 1, launch. Launching of the Kerbalo 11 on its way to the moon. We can see our target. Oh no, oh no. Ah! Abort, abort. Oh no! Come on, Jebediah, you were trained for this. Whew. And that's why there's quick saving. Boom. This lucky son of a gun doesn't know how lucky he is. We are going to reload our quick save by holding F9. And we're going to try the launch again. If we are having further instability issues like that was showing, we might have to refix our ship because there might be a problem with it. So it looks fine so far, but it does look like it's got some wobbling issues. So what you can do if you are having these issues and you want to get it fixed, you can hit escape and revert your flight to the vehicle assembly building. That way you're not having the problems. You can fix the problems that might have been caused. I think the offset tool that we use to bring our rocket boosters a little lower might have caused that. So I'm going to redo this, and hopefully we're also going to add a couple more struts between these these boosters to hopefully hold them in place. And hopefully we don't have a problem like that happen again. I'll also use some extra boosters. There's a little meme that goes along in the Kerbal Space Program community where it's more struts, more boosters. If you can't get into orbit, more boosters. If you can't hold a ship together, more struts. And it'll eventually work in the end. So let's go ahead and get this started, and hopefully this fixed our issue. Now, since this is a tutorial for beginners, it's good to hopefully help you learn that stuff. When you get experience, though, you don't want to revert. You want to play hard. You can actually play a hard mode where you can't revert any ships, and you have to make sure you're designing them as best you can the first time. So here we go. How's our wobbling? Are we getting any wobbling? No, we're steady as a rock. Look at that ship fly. Solid rocket fuel boosters are spending their fuel efficiently. We're heading up, and this is the trip. We're going to go to the moon. Excited? Jeb's excited. Look at that smile on his face. Darn straight. This guy is a national treasure. He's amazing. Okay. Let's look up here. We're still going up and up and up. We have our space station that we said at the beginning of the episode right over there. We're not going to visit it this time. But in a future episode, when we talk about docking, we will go visit that. We will visit the space station. Okay, things are coming right along. We're getting up. We have a very decent speed. We're continuing to accelerate. We're almost to 10,000 meters, and 10,000 meters is when you want to start doing your gravity turn to get up into space. Okay, there's 10,000 meters. Our boosters have gone out, and we're going to activate our next one. Now you'll actually notice that we are slowing down. Why is that? It's because the rocket boosters that were solid, the solid rocket boosters, were giving us much more thrust than this one engine is. However, once this starts to run out of fuel and gets lighter, you'll notice it's now starting to speed up. So we're going to go ahead and start doing our gravity turn and heading towards our apoapsis. And like I said, you want to just make sure you're consistently turning slowly. And once, by the time you get to where your apoapsis is about, I would say about a minute away, that's when you want to be almost completely horizontal. Alright, now is the long, arduous task of getting into orbit. Boom. And we just keep getting faster and faster. By the end of this, when we're up into orbit, we're going to be going 2.2 kilometers a second. So it's pretty quick. There we go. So now we're about a minute away. We need to start turning so we can get almost horizontal there. Things are looking good. I did a night launch again, didn't I? Shame on me. Shame on me. Night launches aren't pretty at all. Okay. Our apoapsis is getting there. Pretty soon our apoapsis, the highest point in our orbit, is going to be above the atmosphere. There it is. So now we're just going to keep burning until we get there, and then we will do our transfer stage, which is this rocket fuel. Rocket. We will get into orbit around the moon. We will slow down. We will use as much energy in here as we can, and then we will use the final landing stage to get as much as we can, as close as we can to the moon. If you click on the apoapsis, it will stay up without you having to mouse over it, so that's a useful tool for you. Alrighty, we're doing well. What's that over there? Oh, that's Ike. Ike is the moon that goes around Duna, and Duna is a Mars-like planet. Okay, now with us about 2 minutes away from our apoapsis, we're going to slow down. We're going to warp, and it looks like we're almost out of fuel. We're just running on fumes in there. We're going to burn to get that last little bit of fuel out here. And now that that stage is spent, we're going to ditch it. It will fall back to Kerbin and burn up in the atmosphere. And we will use this last stage to get us up into orbit. There it goes. You'll notice this engine is much smaller and we're going much slower. We're not accelerating as fast as we were with the other one. Okay, we should be up. There's the periapsis. And you just want to make sure both the apoapsis and periapsis are above the 70 kilometer threshold, and then you'll be good to go. You'll be in a nice circular orbit that you can start preparing for your orbital insertion into the moon orbit. It's coming right along. And there. Periapsis is up. We are in space officially, completely orbiting. We're actually almost on the exact same orbit as our space station, so we won't run into that for a long time. Fun stuff about orbital mechanics. Alright, so everything is looking fancy. Jebediah, are you going to do a crew report? Can't do it now because we've already done a crew report like that. So now we're going to go ahead and prepare to go to the moon. So this is just like our last one. We want to look at the moon. We want to make sure we're about 45 degrees behind it, ahead of it. And we send up our orbit there. And what we'll do is we will kind of adjust here to see how close we can get. We want to make sure we're coming out in front of it rather than behind it. There we go. That's going to give us a periapsis of just above 100. Okay, now let's go ahead and aim at our target. And we are about 17 minutes away. So once we are aiming at our target, we will start to we'll warp till we get to the burn that we need to do. And it says this time our burn needs to be 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Half of that is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So that's where we will need to start our burn. 9. So we're looking down here at our time until then. We need to stop and start our burn at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. 3, 2, let's slow our warp. Okay, so we're going to be burning in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, burn. You do have to do the calculations kind of by yourself. And now we have a 4 and almost a 4.5 minute burn. Now you can speed things up, but you do want to be careful. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to cut our engine. We're going to quick save because, you know, we want to make sure we quick save often, especially with your first trip to the moon. And then we are going to warp. Now normally you can't warp when you have your ship accelerating, but if you hold the Alt key down, you are able to warp. Thing is, this can do some things with your physics, so you got to be careful and you only use it occasionally. But we're going to use that just to speed up this burn because it is going to take a little bit of time. but it will speed it up by 4 times. So instead of having to wait 4 minutes, we'll only have to wait about a minute. You don't have to listen to my rambling for that long. Let's see here. Sometimes your burn, especially if you burn in warp, your marker will come. Before you turn, you need to make sure you stop warp and then start it again after you've done all the moving you need to do. Okay, so about 20 seconds left on ×4 warp. When we get a little closer, we're going to look at the moon and we're going to make our best insertion so that we don't have a problem when we actually get there. Okay, we're about 14 seconds away. You can see our orbit has been brought up a lot higher than it was. Okay, now let's finish our burn, and we want to make sure our orbit gets nice and close. There we go. We're going to be 50 kilometers away from the moon. And that's a good thing. Now you'll notice that it's slingshotting us out. So what we're going to need to do when we get to that periapsis, we're going to need to start slowing ourselves down, or else we're going to get launched off into the solar system. Alright, there's the moon. Here we come. We start speeding with our time warp. We're going 1,000 times faster than normally just waiting. And even then, look how long it takes. We're starting to approach. Once we get in the influence of the moon, we will start slowing down. Boom, there we are. So now we are going to warp until we get to the periapsis, the lowest point in our orbit, and we're going to do our best to land on the sunny side of the moon, because it'll give us a better idea of how to land. Okay. So as you burn in the periapsis, you want to make sure you're facing retrograde, just like we did with our last orbit tutorial. Okay. Let's see here. We're in space near the moon actually now, so we're going to burn first to get ourselves into a nice circular orbit. I was running a crew report there just to get a little extra science, but we'll do a little bit more science once I finish this up. Okay, let's get ourselves slowed down. If you have a pilot that's experienced, you'll be able to use these to accurately point your ship in different directions. And there we go. We're in a nice circular orbit around, an elliptical orbit around the moon, but this will hopefully get us up high enough that we can do some science in both near moon orbit and low moon orbit. So we've done our crew report. We are also going to do a spacewalk here. It's called an EVA report. So we will go EVA, and oh no, Jebediah is floating away from his ship. What do? We turn on our thrusters, we right click him, do an EVA report. He's going to record his observations, and he's going to climb back in and take that data with him. We're also going to open a mystery goo unit, get 60 science from that, and we're going to open a science bay. Actually, now that I think about it, we actually got high and low orbit, high orbit, moon orbit science goo and the science base, so we don't even have to worry about that. However, what we do want to do is we want to review the report we did. We want to send that off, and we also want to review our EVA report and send that off. That will give us instant science, so we don't have to worry about taking all the way back to the Space Center. And in fact, that complete our first contract of science data from around the moon. So we're doing great so far. Now what we're going to do is we are going to burn to make our we're going to bring our periapsis just over the bright side of the moon. And in fact, if we can, I'd like to land kind of near this crater. So we keep burning retrograde. That's going to slow our orbit down and bring the highest point down, the opposite side of your orbit. What that will do eventually is that's going to flip our periapsis here over here. So, and that's where we want it. We want it on the light side of Kerbin so that we can see where we're landing. But that's one reason I recommend putting lights, just in case you do end up on the dark side. Okay, that way you'll be able to do it. You want to stop about 10 kilometers up. I'm doing 13. It won't make too much of a difference, but that way you'll be able to slow yourself down before you smack into the moon. You never want to just be going directly into the moon. Moon doesn't have an atmosphere to slow you down. We're having to do that all with rockets. Okay. Let's speed up and get to our periapsis so that we can finish doing the landing. Here it is. Are you guys excited? I am. Look at that. This is a good view. I'm going to show this to you. Look at that. We are going so fast. It's just going right below us. But it's so cool. Alright, and we have these solar panels which are giving us lots of, that's keeping the ship powered. Now we're going to, since we're getting close to our periapsis, we're going to end up landing in this little area here. So what you do is you want to point retrograde and you want to start burning. You want to burn kind of along this line because this is going to kill your horizontal velocity, so we'll be dropping down to the moon almost face up. So we straight up and down, so we don't have to worry about landing at an incline, because that makes landing very hard. Also, one thing we can do to prepare now is we can open our landing gear by pushing G. Sometimes you have to push it twice, or you can click up here for gears. You'll notice that we are continuing to slow down. Our speed is getting much slower, and it looks like we're going to probably land in this little area here. So we need to be careful that our ship is nice and slow. One thing, if you do have lights and you're landing in a dark area, it's good to activate those lights now. You'll see they turned on. And we are going to use this last stage to use as much fuel as we can. And look over there. There's Kerbin. How awesome. And there's, you can see that little dot out there. That's Eeloo. Eeloo is like Pluto. It's really tiny and really far away. We might land in a crater. I hope not. Those are kind of, the sides of the craters are kind of crazy. If we look back at our map view, we'll see we are on an impact course. So this is where you have to start making, you have to be as careful as you can. So you'll notice that our retrograde marker is still going away. That means that it's killing our velocity back and forth. Something that you can do is you can start aiming your ship towards that, especially if you feel you're coming in too close. That will put all your thrust directly away from the moon. Okay. I think we're going to be just fine though. We might actually land right between these two craters. Or maybe even just in this one. Okay, our speed is slowing down. Now when you actually come to your moon landing, you want to make sure, make sure you watch this before you actually try your landing. But you do want to make sure you're landing at about, somewhere less than 20 meters per second, or that's going to be quite an impact. Okay. So you'll notice that we have started slowing down. I'm going to ditch this bottom tank now because even though it still has a little bit of fuel in it, I don't want that to hit the ground and destroy the ship possibly. So we're going to ditch that, activate our small engine on our lander, and you can just do quick bursts of speed by hitting Z, or if you want to be a more careful controlled burn, you want to make sure you're using Shift and Control to slow you back and forth. So you'll notice that the surface is still down there, almost half a kilometer. There it goes. Boom. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa! Did you see that? Oh my goodness, that was scary. Okay. You'll see our lights are on the ground. We're going to start killing our velocity. And we will use Control and Shift to make sure we're going nice and slowly. Nice and slowly. Aim towards that retrograde marker. Make sure you're going kind of a steady speed. And slowly, slowly get there. And once you hit the ground, hit X. and cut your engines. And look what we did. We've landed on the moon. It's not that hard. You did it. Now we just have to worry about that thing coming back and smacking us in the face. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Hopefully not. That was crazy. Alright, well, we did it. We've landed on the moon. So what do we do now that we're here on the moon? Well, we get a ton of science. And also we want to plant a flag to show that we were here. And that was one of our contracts as well. We want to plant a flag. We need to transmit data from the surface of the moon. So let's transmit the data first. You want to do a crew report because you haven't been on the moon before. It says, report from the Moon Highland craters. You record your assessment of it. It gives us 40 science just for transmitting data. It's the same as if we recover it or not. There's the explosion somewhere. That'd been fun to watch. Alright, we are also going to run our science experiments. We're going to run a mystery goo now that we're here on the surface. We get 80 science for that. It's a lot. We're going to open materials bay. 200 science. So much. And now we have transmitted science data from the moon. 2 contracts completed. Only thing we've yet to do is plant a flag. So let's go ahead and do this. You'll click on your Kerbal. He has this EVA button. He's going to come out. And you can just jump by pushing the space bar, and he'll fall. Luckily there's not very much gravity on the moon. You can go for a little couple steps. You can jump. And you can have a lot of fun. The moon is a great fun place to be. Now that your Kerbal is out doing an EVA on the surface, we're going to have him do an EVA report. 64 science just for being here. You're going to plant a flag. You always want to plant a flag. It's part of the honor of the Kerbal Space Program. There we go. We're going to say first moon landing. Everyone! We did it! And we'll leave that nice message. And so the only way you can actually read plaques on there is you have to actually come to the flag. By planting the flag, we've now completed the contract, and let's see what we've gotten. We've gotten 183,000 funds for planting the flag, 267 funds for sending science data from the moon, exploring the moon, a ton of funds, 60 science from transmitting data, landing on the moon. All those gave us a ton of reputation. Look at that. We have over 1 million funds. We almost have 100% reputation. And now we have 227 science. That's not too much, but what can we do? Well, let's take all this science that we've gathered here in these science base home. You can come over to them, right-click them, and remove the data. This will actually put the data on Jebediah. You'll see he has stored data there. And you'll be able to then recover that in the capsule for the full amount instead of having to transmit it and get only 20% of the data. We always want to get the most we can, right? So that's it. We've landed on the moon and we still have a ton of fuel left. If you do this without a ladder, make sure that you do know how to fly your jetpack around, or you're really good at grabbing onto ladders from the ground. We are going to review the data we got. This is our EVA report. The dust is getting everywhere. We're going to send that off. We are going to keep this data because we can recover it for 200 science instead of transmitting it. We can recover this one for 80, recover this for 60, and 150 for this other one. So what we are going to do now is launch. And as we launch, we're going to do a quick crew report. And we are going to do these other science experiments as well. And we will hopefully get up into orbit. It's so easy to get around orbit of the moon rather than anywhere else. So let's activate our stabilization systems and boost up our rocket. Look, there we go. Slowly but surely. We're not even at 25%. So there's one in space near the moon. I think we actually got that one. So let's reset these ones and get more science from away from the moon. So since we don't have an atmosphere on the moon, you can actually do a gravity turn almost instantly. And look, there's Kerbin. Isn't that pretty? This game is so beautiful, even in just the simplest turns. Knowing that you've made it all the way from that planet over there to this one really means a lot. So we watch our orbit, and we want to make sure, we keep it the same. With the moon, you don't want to worry about it being so much of a minute away because you're going much slower on the moon, being much less gravity. But you want to be burning near horizontal and get you out as far, as close as you can to being up there. There we go. I have a modification that shows you can see these things. When you're looking at bright surfaces, you actually don't see the stars, but when you look away, you do. Just like in real life. Okay. We're getting faster, and we're going to get up into orbit. And look, we still have a ton of fuel left because we have a very fuel-efficient engine. And very fuel-efficient, and a lot of fuel left. Okay, so we are getting up there. What we will do is once we get up here, we're going to do a maneuver node that puts us one into orbit. And then when you want to return to Kerbin, the best way is to make sure you're going this way, toward the opposite way the moon is moving, because the moon is moving this way. You want to be moving this way, and you want to shoot your periapsis up there. And watch as I burn towards my prograde going that way. My periapsis for Kerbin is going to drop down low. So we're going to bring that down nice and low so that we come back encountering Kerbin. And that's going to take a little bit of a burn, 45 seconds, but that's totally able to be done in this little ship. So 44, we need about 22.5 seconds to burn that appropriately. I do all this math in my head all the time to just kind of pick that up. And there we burn. Press Z to burn. Let's see if we can do another crew report. No, we did the space near the moon already. And we'll look, that's brought us into orbit of around the moon. This will get us out pretty far away. And we will, I think we'll actually take the science data from orbit high around Kerbin, because we haven't done that just yet. Okay. And look, there we go. We still have half a fuel tank left. We're going to bring ourselves down inside the atmosphere about, 10. You can actually impact Kerbin directly if you want, because one of the most interesting things is the atmosphere won't burn you up. But we want to be kind of realistic, so we won't do the burning up here. Okay. Let's head out. Goodbye, moon. It was fun. It was nice knowing you. What's happened with the orbit? Oh, it's just calculating a little bit. Okay, there we go. Our rocket is doing just fine. We've had a good time on our trip. Where's Kerbin? There it is. Down, way down there. Whoops. We're going to run our science experiments now that we're up here high above Kerbin. Looks like we only get 30 science from this one, so it's kind of a rip-off, but oh well. It's free science. I'm not going to complain about that. We're going to do a crew report. It's very round, it says. And we're going to do an EVA report. This will be some good chance for you to practice gathering science. You don't have to do this, of course. This is just my craziness and what I have fun doing. Looks like, which of these has the science in it? Here it is. Okay, we've recovered the science. We climb back in our capsule, and now we're ready to do our final approach back to our home world. We're going to start speeding up. There it goes. You can actually watch it turn. Isn't that pretty? I love this game. Okay. We might even land on the night side. What a shame on us, right? Okay, so our capsule has served us very well, but now we are about to re-enter Kerbin's atmosphere. So we are going to do that without our rocket. So thank you for serving us. We're going to ditch you and let you burn up in the atmosphere. And there we go. Goodbye, rocket. And we're going to use this nice heat shield, which doesn't really work, but well, we'll pretend it works. And we're going to use that to slow us down, and we're actually going to land over on land, which looks good. All right. There goes parts of our rockets burning up. Oh, look, that's the Space Center right here. Man, we're going to be so close to it. Could even walk right over. Be cool if I could kind of, if I had an engine or something, I could kind of shoot my way over. What a coincidence. I don't think I've ever come that close to landing at the Space Center. Okay. You want to be careful. We've made it so far. Make sure you also quick save as you go along. But we're going to go ahead and activate our parachute. Make sure you're not warping through your parachute again. Boom. Opens up. And there we go. We've successfully made it to the moon and back. Now that you once your parachute opens, you can warp all you want. But just make sure before it opens you don't warp it. Oh, what's that? Oh, look. That's our space station. It's just going above us. We can actually watch it go by. Isn't that cool? This game is beautiful. I love it. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I wish you your best luck on getting to the moon. Now that we've finished that, I'm going to go ahead and recover the vessel and show you what you can expect. You've done so much. There's so many things to do. We earned, not including our crew reports that we did, we got 655 science back. That is huge. That's so awesome. We can unlock so many things. It'll show us the things we brought back, the parts we recovered, and Jebediah. He gained 5 experience. He became much more talented. So we're good. Everything is great. In our next mission, I've been thinking what we're going to do is we are going to explore Minmus. It's actually one of our next contracts. And we are going to also go over a visual surveys contract, which is over on Minmus. I'll explain how you can go to different areas and how to fulfill a visual survey contract in its entirety. We'll also, now that we've got a ton of science and over 1 million funds, I'll go over the tech tree choices we're going to make now that we've upgraded our science center. And I'm also going to go over strategies. It's been great. I've had a blast. And I really hope that this has helped you make it to the moon for the first time. You guys are awesome. Take care and have a great day.